Welcome, New York City and my listeners around the world. This is your host, Elizabeth Tripp. I am live here at Gotham Podcast, recording my first podcast at my new home. This is Nourish the Soul, and I am so excited to bring you yet another edition of a fantastic show. I've just been taking the last couple weeks and really allowing myself to explore the new messages that I wanted to bring all of you. And what I love about Nourish the Soul, and what I've always really enjoyed about how I design the show, is that the show is really, truly for you. This is your opportunity to sit back, relax, and go on a journey of self-discovery, to really explore why you've been guided to tonight's broadcast. There's no coincidence that you're here. Something greater than yourself has brought you to this podcast. And perhaps maybe you're even on my live stream. I'm streaming live off of Facebook at Nourish the Soul NYC. And so you can see something has brought you here that you are ready to begin to uncover and unlock for yourself. The thing about Nourish the Soul, at its core, at the core of what this show is really about, is you uncovering the light and love that deeply resides within you. It's about letting go of what limits you from being the absolute best version of yourself today. And before we do the live show and really getting into the deep aspects of today's podcast, I have something that I really want to announce. I've been doing over the last month in November a gratitude challenge. And I have two winners. So I had over the last month, I had about 15 people emailing me. And every week they would email me what they were grateful for. And it was such a beautiful experience. I mean, I got to wake up every day and get emails from people, and they had the requirement of sharing 7 things that they really felt grateful for. And so every day throughout the week, I would get these emails and I'd get to hear these really beautiful messages like, I'm thankful for the air that I breathe, or I'm thankful that I have eyesight, or I'm thankful for the food on my table, or the fact that I have a car, or the idea that I can be retired and still really have a lot to look forward to. Or I'm thankful for my husband, or I love having morning classes with my little daughter and doing sing-alongs. Or I'm thankful for my teacher, you, Elizabeth, for empowering me to see life differently, to allowing me to see the wonder of the soul journey. I mean, so many beautiful things that these individuals were thankful for. And in return, I said part of the challenge, they would have an opportunity to win a 2 free-hour session with me. And that's valued at $350. I said, you know what? Those who do this challenge, it's going to be an opportunity for you to really see all the wonderful things you have in your life, to get present to all the gifts you have around you. And it really allowed for these people to see everything that was whole within their existence. They stopped seeing all the things they needed to fix, all the things that were broken, all the things that they didn't have, and they stepped into a level of themselves, a more truer and authentic and whole version of who they are. They actually stepped into who they've always been. I was so proud of that. So this 2 hours is totally earned by these challengers. It's totally, you deserve it. And the second thing that I offered was I have designed an online course, a retreat that I'm premiering in January. And I said to these challengers, I'm also going to give a free seat away to my online retreat. It's called Be Fit Mind, Body, and Soul. And it really, on this online retreat, I bring you on a journey to unlock your true health, to transform it, and really start leading the life you deserve. So I said to these challengers, those who participate and really share from their heart what they're thankful for, you will get an opportunity to have a seat at this online retreat and really take advantage of unlocking your true health and leading the life that you know you want. So I entered in the names of these 15 people into a random picker. It's a random picker online. And I entered them in, and this random picker actually picked 2 random people. So I'm going to announce this tonight. And so the winner of the 2-hour session was Abby. So the winner of the 2-hour session was Abby. So Abby, if you're tuning in, perhaps maybe on the live, or you're listening to this podcast on iTunes or iHeartRadio or Spotify or any of the other platforms I'm on, you are the winner of the 2-hour session. And the winner of the Be Fit Mind, Body, Soul retreat actually goes to Alice. So I have Abby as the winner of the 2 hours, and the winner of the retreat goes to Alice. So I wanted to be sure that I announced that on the podcast and that you guys got a shout out from me. I'm really proud of you, and I thank you so much for engaging in this beautiful challenge. And I could see that you got a lot out of it, and it would really be worth your time looking back at all the emails that you sent me and seeing all the things that you noticed that you were grateful for during that month of December, because that can really anchor you in a powerful perspective as we transition into the holiday season. Okay? It can be a tough time for a lot of people, and we're gonna get further into that in tonight's broadcast. But I encourage those who did participate into the challenge to really be reflective and allow yourself to find your balance and power in the things that you saw were whole and well and really going good for you in your life. And I want to also drop a hint here. I gave away this free spot to my online retreat, and I want to just sort of plant the seed for those of you who are listening. I want you to think about this. You've obviously been drawn to the podcast for a reason. You have a curiosity about uncovering something that's limiting you from really shining your light or expressing your true love and being your best version of you. So, do you have a deep pull to really let go of old ways? I want you to ask yourself that. Do you have a deep pull to let go of old ways? And are you curious to find a permanent solution to your health and well-being? Are you curious about it? And are you ready to transform your relationship to food and your body? Are you ready to do that? So if you're answering yes to any of these questions, I actually want you to take action now to do this first. I want you to sign up to receive my free ebook. The ebook is called Be Fit Mind, Body, Soul: 6 Steps to Unlock Your, or really it's 6 steps to transform your health, to lead the life you deserve. And in this free ebook, you will get an opportunity to really uncover and start working with the 3 steps to leading your life the way you deserve and set yourself up for success before you even join the online program. So I designed the ebook as a way to get all of you transforming now, so that you don't have to wait till January to start on your journey of becoming fit, healthy, full of vitality, really feeling the best version of you, getting to the body weight you deserve, having the relationship with food you so desperately want. We know that we're all going to holiday gatherings. We know we're going to be sitting around the table with lots of food, cookies and treats and Christmas trees with icing and chocolates with caramel. I mean, everything is going to be available to us throughout the next month. So why not take action now? I know you want to. So how do you get this free copy for yourself? You head over to my website, elizabethmtripp.com, and you click through the prompted "Yes, I am," and you sign up today. And this actually makes you a member of a group of people who are revolutionizing health, a group of people who are really learning how to cultivate true well-being within themselves. So this is an exciting, exciting opportunity for you. So I wanted to make sure I kind of planted that seed, got you guys all thinking about that, got you curious about what you want to transform for yourself as we head into tonight's podcast. Because listen, what better time of year to transform, to really get present to what holds you back from your best you than the holiday season, right? Well, why, you might be asking? Why? Why the holidays? Well, let's think about it. The holidays can be magical, right? We can see the magic in the lights. There's all these beautiful decorated trees. The streets are glowing. There's glitter everywhere. And it feels like there's gold on all the sidewalks, right? You walk down Park Avenue, you're kind of in a winter wonderland. And there's so many opportunities. There's so many opportunities for us to step out of our normal routines. We're tending holiday gatherings. We're finishing big end of the year projects and deadlines. We're spending more money. We're actually doing more traveling. We're seeing more people. So there's so many opportunities for us to step out of our normal routine. And guys, listen, we all know this. We can all agree. I guarantee we can all agree on this. We're all creatures of habit, right? So we have a little routine that we like to stay in because it creates a sense of comfort and safety, and it's predictable and we enjoy it. So we do it. It's our creature of habit tendency. So listen, this time of year, we're actually getting asked to step out of our norm and go outside of what feels comfortable for us. And as we do that, naturally, things can come up for us. Remember, even back in September and October, we talked about as things change, one of our most natural responses almost automatically is to kind of retreat and to step back. I don't like change. It feels different. It's scary. I don't know what to do with that. But this time of year, we really have limited choice to do that. I mean, we have the Christmas carols in our ears every store we go to. The trees are all lit up. Everyone's singing their They're laws, and we're getting bombarded with messages on TV. We're seeing at the checkout line the Christmas candy and the stocking stuffers. I mean, we have no choice. We're being asked to attend all these gatherings, and we have to buy all these presents, right? So the change and the transition that's happening around us, we really are being kind of catapulted into it. So a lot can come up for people. It's not uncommon. We just went from being in our normal routines, going to work, having an occasional birthday party, maybe going out to dinner once in a while, seeing our family maybe once every couple of weeks, or maybe even more than that. We really only see them once a year or maybe twice. And so now we're being pulled back into something that is different than our normal, yet something about it is familiar. Okay? The songs are familiar, the tastes are familiar, the smells are familiar. So it can bring up feelings of nostalgia, maybe for others, sadness, maybe even anger. And for many, I bet it can bring up a feeling of being overwhelmed by this pressure to meet expectations of the season, the expectations to be cheerful, to be happy. If you listen to a lot of the songs and the commercials and, the hoopla, you see everybody with a smile on their face. Everybody with big, bright eyes and opening up really amazing presents and gifts. And they're so happy. All their expectations have been met. And their stockings are full, and they have all the candy they ever dreamed of, and there's sugar plums dancing in their head. I mean, literally. You see this, it's advertised, and the lights, they're glowing. And so the expectation is to really be cheerful and happy during this time. Yet we're going through a period of transition from doing what we felt was comfortable and routine for us to now being pulled into different types of gatherings, a pressure to spend more, to finish the end of the year projects. So there's lots of things that are coming at us that are different than we're used to. And to slap on top of that, we're being told, and you got to be happy. Interesting, isn't it? So for many of us, when I got to thinking about this and why I designed tonight's podcast, I got to seeing that for many of us, when we get presented with change or something new in terms of our routine, we can fall back into an old story with ourselves. We can start to fall back into this conversation of looking at, well, what was once, and how it was back then, and what we wished it to be, and what we expect things to be. We can start to see through this transition into the holiday season, into Hanukkah and Christmas and the New Year's, we can find safety in reflecting on how we used to celebrate it, what used to bring us joy, how we wanted it to be, what we remember this holiday season being like. Snuggled in our beds when we were 8 or 9, wondering when Santa was going to come down the Christmas chimney, or the chimney of the tree, or the chimney to the tree, right? And give us all the presents that we wanted. And so we start to reminisce about the past. Yet here's the thing, guys. Nothing ever stays the same. Nothing stays the same. And as we travel back into the past and wanting things to be like how they were back then, and wanting to set the expectation that we're going to be happy and excited and we're going to get everything we want and everything's going to work out so perfect, it can actually set ourselves up for disappointment. And it doesn't give us the room and the space to allow us to work through what we're truly feeling and what is actually coming up for us. It actually teaches us to push aside the feelings that we have, maybe the fear or the anxiety or the anger we've still kept from Christmases ago, where our father or our brother or our cousin was a jerk or said something to press our buttons. This kind of thought process or this expectation actually pushes us to put aside how we're feeling and to put on a happy face and to expect that things are going to be just wonderful. And is that always the case? And is that setting you up for a very powerful experience this holiday, especially with your family, especially with people that have the ability to really know what buttons to press within us to get us reactive or to see a reaction out of us? The people that know us the best, or at least reared us through our most delicate years. Okay? So we all experience the holidays, the Santas, the bells, the lights, the music, the candy, the presents. No one is spared this time of year from the shifts that the season creates within our communities and within ourselves. And we can see that the pressure to make it great, to be happy, to have these, emotions of I'm going to get everything I want, this excitement, to really relive the past. How easy then does it make us have, or how easy is that to then transition into spending time with family? How easy does this pressure make it to go home and put a big smile on your face and disregard all the feelings you're having, that you're spending so much money, or that you have a big deadline you need to make, or that, you've been out partying too much? How easy does it make for us to then go and face family when we have this pressure to think that everything has to be great, that we have to be happy, and that we have to really relive what once was? So here's where I want you guys to start thinking. Here's what I want you to get present to. How many of you have ever spent time with your family and felt annoyed or frustrated or angry and upset by their behavior and actions while you're with them? Just take a minute to think about that, because I'm 100% positive there isn't going to be one person who's going to say, I've never felt that way. Because here's what I also want you to think about. Do you have a family member that is unhappy or depressed or stubborn or impatient or controlling, or maybe even self-destructive? Maybe they engage in some behaviors with alcohol or drugs or food, or things that you can see from an outside perspective are really destructive for their health. Does anybody out there have a family member like that? So just get present to those two things. And I want you to see what kinds of feelings come up for you when you're challenged by family members like that, when you're challenged by people who are complaining or trying to press your buttons by being impatient with you, or they like to be controlling over you and tell you what to do, or they're condescending, judgmental. And then you see them doing things that, from your perspective, you can see are not so healthy either for themselves. What comes up for you when you're around them? And what ways do you find yourself feeling better? And how do you make yourself feel better? How do you deal with these feelings? So you're starting to see, the weeks leading up to this big holiday, Christmas, we have all of this change and transition from being outside of our normal routines to doing things that we don't usually do, spending a lot of money, buying presents, going out with more people, socializing at more gatherings, having to visit family members more often. We can start to see leading up to the weeks of this major holiday, we already are experiencing probably an array of different emotions. With this expectation that we want to make the holiday merry, cheerful, what it once was, what it should be. And yet we have all these feelings. And now we're seeing we are going to be challenged by people that have their own shortcomings that actually can trigger us to feel even more, maybe anger or anxiety or shame or guilt or uncomfortabilities. So how do we deal with these feelings around this time of year? Do we deal with them very powerfully? And many of us joke about this, but how many of you have seen and maybe laughed at the man or woman super drunk at the bar at this time of year? They're so drunk, they've got a Santa hat on, they're, sort of slurring their words and they can hardly stand up and they're kind of just babbling on, and you might see them out on the street and you kind of laugh with your friend like, oh, they got into the cheer too much, right? Or how many people have you noticed that, you're in the checkout line at the store and they've got a big gallon of ice cream and chips and cookies, and you kind of note to yourself like, that's an interesting cart. Or maybe you see like two people yelling. I see this all the time out on the street, two people yelling at each other or crying and getting angry and upset, and you see this a lot around this time of year. It's it's everywhere. And the thing is that these actions, these things that these people are doing are the way that they are dealing with those emotions. They are dealing with the fact that they're not meeting this expectation of all this merry and cheeriness that we're supposed to have. And so they found external things to create a sense of comfortability or rationalizing how they feel. If you're yelling at your boyfriend and blaming him for how you're feeling, it makes you feel better in the moment. And when you're in the line and you get the ice cream and the cookies and you go home and eat them, it makes you feel better in the moment. And when you have that extra drink or that shot and you get to feel that calm, that rush, that wooziness over you, it makes you feel better in the moment. And there's nothing wrong with these actions. But what I want to empower you to start investigating here is how healthy are they for you? How powerful are they making you feel? Are they actually empowering you to see clearly, to hear clearly, to connect with yourself? Or are these things, are they separating you from learning something much deeper about yourself? How to perhaps to let go? How to embrace change? How to really stand in the presence of someone that irritates us or bothers us or knows how to push our buttons? What do you think happens to our feelings when we use these external things to make ourselves feel better? Do you think it's possible that we're letting our emotions out? I mean, are we? Or is it possible that we're burying them deeper in? Is it possible that we are burying them deeper in within ourselves and that this actually clouds our view of ourself and our present moments? How we see the holiday, how we see our family, how we deal with then our family. Because if the weeks leading up to Christmas we've been using alcohol and food and shopping and finger pointing and blaming and telling other people it's their fault, then how full of our emotions are we by the time we sit down and see our family? Pretty full. And how clear are we going to be able to see ourselves? And how clear are we going to be able to hear? Or is it possible that we might actually get even more triggered by the weirdest, most simplest things? Like somebody asking us a question? Or somebody just, trying to find their own control and probing and wondering, hey, what's your 5-year plan? What are you doing? What's your career outlook like? Who are you dating? You really should get married. You're going on 33? I mean, these things can happen. That's called family talk. Yeah, it's like the other F word, right? And so, will we flow through the season? Do you see yourself flowing if we use these other means to deal with all these emotions? Or do you see yourself becoming more reactive? So that's what I want you to start getting present to as I continue to share this story. So, as I always do on all of my podcasts, I like to get personal and I like to get vulnerable because I know that when I share something, it sets me free from the past. It sets me free from the pain and the hurt. And so I encourage you to think about, after you hear this show tonight, what you want to share, what you want to get free from today, so that you can go into the holiday season being the powerful you that you truly are, and knowing that everything that's occurring around you is happening for a reason, and that there's an opportunity for you to learn something much, much, much deeper for yourself and on your journey, or you wouldn't be here right now. So there is something guiding you to really get something powerful for yourself tonight. So this story takes place 8 years ago. It's 2018, so this was in 2010. And I had just returned home from the city. So I've lived in the city for almost 12 years or 11 years. And I had just finished my first year of grad school at Brooklyn College. I was studying to be a registered dietitian, and I was working as a fitness and health educator up at a school in Harlem. It was not an easy job. It was teaching fifth graders gym class essentially after school and trying to get them to learn healthy eating behaviors. And it was a rough part of Harlem, and I wasn't used to the kind of experience that I was given. I wasn't used to kids being misbehaved or being, talk back or having real problems. So it took a toll on me, physically, mentally, and I, at the time, also was really struggling with student loans. I was living mostly, this was a part-time job, and to take care of my education, I really took out like a hefty amount of loans. Like back then, it was like really easy to take out loans. So I was living on student loans and lots of credit cards. And I had a lot of worries about money. I was worrying about how much money I was going to have. And at the same time, spending it recklessly. So on top of this, I was struggling also, as you guys have heard in my previous podcast, confidence. I was always seeking outside validation from friends and family and my colleagues to define my worth and value. And so I remember going back home that Christmas and feeling really tired, really anxious, really depressed. And I was tired of feeling afraid. I was tired of feeling disconnected from myself. I was taking on so much of these little kids' pains and their struggles. And I was trying so hard to help them. And I was trying so hard to really show up and do well at school. Yet I was feeling so overwhelmed. And I remember I was going out a lot, and drinking a lot, and spending a lot. And when I finally got up to my house for Christmas, it was like, I want Christmas to be special and happy and to be a release and to feel safe and comforted. So my expectation was that it's going to be merry, it's going to be cheery, and, everything is going to be exactly the way I remembered it. And I kept thinking, this is the happiest time of the year. I should be happy. So, time with my family will help me. Okay. So that night, I arrived home. My mom told me, we're going to head over to your brother's house for a Christmas party. He's having a party with all the neighbors and his friends, and we're going to go over there and we're going to spend a few hours there. So I thought, okay, we can do that. No problem. So my mom and me and my dad, we all piled into the car and we drove over to his house. And when we arrived, I was greeted by my brother and my sister-in-law, and the house was packed with their friends and their neighbors, and they had all their lights up, and it was just like their Christmas tree was glowing, and it was just like the big hoopla had arrived, right? And we were ushered into the kitchen and introduced to all the guests. And I remember feeling really uncomfortable in myself. I remember I was feeling insecure, and thoughts about my appearance started to kind of get firing out into my mind. I don't like what I'm wearing. People think I'm overweight. I'm not pretty. Who's going to want to talk to me? And I'm going to have to explain how I feel and what I'm doing in my life. And I felt like I had to put on a show. And so I quickly, found my way to the alcohol. That was kind of my go-to at that time to calm myself down. And I saw my mom actually do the same. So, we kind of buddied up together and we were having a Christmas drink. And, it was that drink. And then I had another. And then that's when things started to get kind of fuzzy. And I remember then taking this shot, and it was something that my sister-in-law gave me, and my mom was doing it, and another neighbor was doing it. And I remember feeling after that so at ease, and I could talk to anybody. And I remember after that, all of a sudden I was standing next to a stranger, out in the living room, and suddenly I was crying and I was emotional. And this stranger I didn't even know, who was many years older than me, probably 15, 20 years older than me, he was rubbing my back and he was trying to comfort me and he was giving me a hug. And I had no idea who he was. And I have no idea what I was telling him. And then the next thing I knew, I was home, and it was the next day. And waking up, I had this pounding headache. I felt awful, just awful. It was like dehydrated, completely discombobulated, like I got run over by a truck. And I walked out into the kitchen and I was greeted by this glare by my dad. And, it was like one of those glares that you never, ever want to have your dad give you? And I really didn't know what to do. I just sort of said like, good morning. And I thought to myself, uh-oh, I did something wrong. I did something bad. And my dad just didn't say anything. He just got up and he walked out. And my mom came into the kitchen and she started whispering to me and she said, your father is really upset with you. You were so drunk last night and uncontrollably crying while in the arms of my brother's neighbor, who's a stranger to the family. We don't know him. And he's worried you're not okay. And that he was yelling at me all last night the way you behaved, and he's upset that I was drinking and that it was a bad example, and that he was just really upset. And immediately I felt so embarrassed. I thought, oh my gosh, what did I say? What did I do? Who was I talking to? Why did I let myself get that way? And deep down, I knew I wasn't okay. I knew it, but I was shaming myself and I was saying, I'm just so stupid. And I knew that I felt depressed and that I wasn't dealing with these feelings in a healthy way, but instead drinking and recklessly spending. And, to be honest, it was like I knew I was feeling super powerless. And that's exactly when I started to self-loathe. Like I'm explaining, I ruined the party. I made a scene, I made my dad upset. I totally, everybody thinks I'm just a mess. And with all these thoughts, all these conversations I was having with myself, I really anchored myself deeper, deeper into a destructive mindset. And it turns out my dad was really disappointed in me. But it also turns out that he didn't have a powerful way of expressing it. And instead, he got really angry and upset and yelled at me and got yelled at my mom and was really trying to use force to show us how disrespected he felt by our behavior, especially mine. And it sure did leave for a very angry Christmas, one where we sort of lived in that day in misery, where he became angry and upset and I became emotional. And so it was a very interesting holiday. And when I look back on it, it was not what I expected. It was full of tears and it was tension and hurt and blame. And both my mom and dad and I were in these destructive conversations with ourselves. Both of us, all of us really feeling powerless and now getting more of what we didn't want. We were all feeling upset and guilty and shamed and heading into that Christmas Eve. And so looking back at this story, I can see that leading up to it, there was a lot coming up for me that Christmas. And equally, because none of us are spared from the transition into this holiday, all the hoopla, like I've talked about, all the expectations to be cheery, all the extra money we have to spend, all the gatherings we have to go to, I can guarantee that my family equally had a lot coming up for them too. And it's so easy for us in those moments of change and transition in the holiday and being bombarded with all these expectations to want to try to find safety in, well, everything has to be cheery. It has to be like it once was. We have to make it really fun this year. That going to that place actually made us kind of displace our emotions and try to bury them inside of us, try to push them away. And so we didn't know how to talk about our feelings. We didn't know how to let them out. And my mom was using alcohol and I was using alcohol. My dad was using anger. And so we were all trying to find our power in external things. external parts of our reality. And in it all, we actually didn't find power. We all became powerless. And we all became frustrated and we all felt guilty and we all felt shamed and sad because my dad felt so bad for being upset and he felt so sad for seeing me so depressed. And my mom felt like an enabler and that she had done something wrong. And boy, I just felt like I was just the bottom of the totem pole. And so looking back at this, we didn't know how to really share our feelings. We didn't know how to take control in the midst of seeing another person really out of control, really trying to find their own safety, their own comfort, their own sense of, calm in the holiday. So eventually, we did move through. This isn't something that I hold on to in my family. We actually can laugh about it now and we can say, you know what? Yeah, Elizabeth was going through a really hard time because you know what I did? I spent another 6 years stuck in my old ways. That incident didn't change me very drastically until another 6 years later. Those behaviors of trying to avoid my feelings and trying to find power outside of myself in whether that be validation or alcohol or food or, shopping, it didn't change. And for a while, my dad actually still he struggled with expressing himself and trying to find power. So the holidays, in this story can help you see how family can really be a trigger for us, a real catalyst for us to see something really much deeper about ourselves. Why do I share this story with you all? Well, to be powerful this season with ourselves, with those that we love, knowing that there's a lot that will come up for us just based off of the fact that this is a new transitional period in our life. There's things that we're doing outside of our norm, which generally brings things up for people. I want to offer you this. Our families serve as tools for our souls to learn and grow, for our souls to really begin to see the parts of ourselves that we haven't yet come complete with or at peace with. And that our family members are here to teach us something, and that they're here to also learn something from us. So we are here to empower each other to transcend on our individual paths, on our journey, to move past what we perceive, what limits us. I thought that I needed to take on everybody else's stuff. And as a result, I thought I used to have to be really tired all the time and sad and depressed. And I thought I used to need alcohol and shopping and food to make me feel better. What a limitation that was for me. And what I brought to my family, I limited them. But in reality, I actually was trying to see something and grow out of something that was limiting me, and as a result, triggering my dad and catalyzing his own individual experience of how am I going to handle this? How can I be powerful? So I was equally teaching him something about himself as I was in the midst of trying to learn something about me. How do I stand in my power? How do I stand in my confidence? How do I stand in my trust for myself, my journey? So the holidays are an opportunity for us to get present to what we struggle to let go from the past. We immediately all fall back to the past, what it once was, how we were used to remember it. Yet things don't ever stay the same. And It's there that we get present to what we haven't released as it comes to surface with the familiar tastes and smells and songs of the season. When we go back into the past, a lot comes up for us. And so bring that in the mix with everything that we're seeing, all the new responsibilities and expectations that we have. This time of year can be challenging. It can be challenging for us to stand in our power. And so when a family member, guys, is sad or upset or angry or nagging you or controlling or drinking or complaining, is it because they want to make you suffer? Or is it them themselves trying to find a way to find peace and freedom with what they haven't released or come to completion with? They're just trying to make themselves feel better. They're just trying to find a way to feel calm and in control. They've discovered ways to look outside of themselves for the answer. And so complaining or victimizing or pointing fingers or maybe yelling, these are all symptoms of their own pain. And is it your job? Is it your job to go home and judge them for their pain? Or would you like to be powerful in that? Would you like to be able to be powerful and present to the fact that they are in the middle of learning something for themselves? And wouldn't it be amazing if you could recognize their behavior as a reflection of the symptoms of their own journey of what they need to learn to release and what they need to learn to let go of, and that it has nothing to do with you? And that you don't need to take on all of their anger or upset. And, you don't need to keep shaming yourself. Because when my dad got upset with me, I used to just take on all of that anger and sadness and shame and guilt and make it more of my own. That wasn't fun. And so what if each of our souls are here experiencing our own challenges and pain to learn to let them go? No one can make the choice for you to let go except you. Only you have the power to decide. No matter how much you want a person to change, no matter how much you want them to be different, to be happy, to be cheery, no matter how much you expect them to be happy around this time of year, it's only their choice. And so equally, you have the choice to decide who you want to be this holiday, how you want to show up. What you have control over is how you choose to respond to your family's behavior and your own emotions that come up for you. So you have the power to choose how you want this holiday to go. And so I invite you to take a nice big deep breath with me. Letting this all out this evening. And setting this intention as we go through the next few weeks. I give my highest self permission to lead me towards what it is I'm ready to learn and grow from this holiday season. I give power to my guides to support me on this journey. I am ready to nourish my soul. And so, guys, ladies and gentlemen, listeners around the world, that wraps up tonight's podcast. I invite you to head over to my website, elizabethmtripp.com, and take action to work with me. If you have something that's come up for you, I am ready to help you today. So with that, love and light, I am signing out.